This is gonna be part number 2 in respect to this gentleman here that you see. I was thinking about a little bit about this whereabouts with this gentleman, and I came to conclusion that this gentleman headed up north for the work, for the job, for the sales. I think he was a salesperson when I was probably about 8 years of age. That's what I think this was. 7 years of age, 8 years of age, might have been even 6 years of age, that he headed up north for the work, for the job. From Napoli area. When it comes to the Napoli, I think he was the one I was making the fun out of, the city. Which was really, really helpful. He might have figured out this on his own to help me out, remembering the city. And because I was making fun of his city, which was extremely hurtful for him, he told me to Leone, to say that he is from Leone. I think this is the guy. All I remember is a rather poor Italian house. I think he had 2 brothers and 1 sister. Not from Leone, but Leone is a lion. It sounds more proud as he was. He did not want me probably to make the fun out of what likely was maybe even Pesco Pagano. I think originally he's from Pesco Pagano. Pesco Pagano certainly was involved in it. This is the second time I'm recording this stuff with nobody more than Carabinieri, Comando Stazione, little police Carabinieri here. I believe this guy left not for the military, but for the work, job-wise, to the north of the Italy. Between 5 and 7, 6, let's just say I was 6 years of age, something like that, that he left to Italy, to northern Italy for the work. And the way this stuff was done was through, I believe, Bologna. That would be, Bologna was a principal location. The people from south of the Italy, they would either go to, for the training purposes, they would either go to Bologna or Milano. This was a training. Training was Bologna or Milano, most often. And then you would get assignment as per your work location where you will work. I think that he got training in Bologna, and from Bologna that he eventually moved to Ferrara, and from Ferrara that he moved to the Padua. And it was about this time when he started to date the girl who originally is from Mantua. Her family, his wife's family, originally is from Mantua. And the way this dating happened, the way this dating took place was through, after he completed the training for Bologna, they transferred him to some store in what I think most likely was a Ferrara. This is what I think. He was not alone. There were 3 other guys from his area, and they would transfer these 3 guys whom I would also go visit at the same time. And then there was another who knows how many guys involved in this stuff. They transferred them to the different locations. Some would end up inside of Verona, some would end up directly in Padova, that kind of stuff. And others would end up, I don't know, in Florence, wherever they would end up. Okay? So he completed the basic training in Bologna. From Bologna, I think he was transferred to the store with even his friends on specialization to prove the competence, the ability to handle business independently, to Ferrara. You understand? After he completed that very successfully in Ferrara, that's when he was moved, very possibly even to the Padova, to work in the Padova. It's about the time when he started to date this girl from, just as I described in part number 2, I stated she is from Casaleone, from this area here. And he had another girl he was dating. And it was like this, that the first one, when he started to date, the first one that he dated was, he met the 2 girls. I was with him. It was some kind of a birthday party, whatever, and they went there. They traveled with his friends all the way to, probably was, I don't even understand. There is a little bit problem here. Because I remember that this Casaleone, it would be something that they would even go walking and stuff like this, whatever. It appeared to me as the girls would be from Castellario originally, you know, Nogara, Castellario area. And then he had some other girl that he dated, and he was going to get married, whatever. He dated that one for, I don't know, some little time, month, 2 months, I don't know what it was. And I was even guilty of breaking that relationship. After 2 months, he started to date this girl whom he met. That I like that girl, etc., and he started to date her. And this is what he stuck with that girl. I think this is the way it was with this stuff. He stuck with a girl for another 50 years plus. Obviously very happy with her. Very family guy. Very pleased with her. I think she has him a little bit around the finger. And that's all there is to it, to this whole story. The stuff that I talked about, the military, it's not okay. There is a possibility that he was in the military before he settled for this work, right? And maybe not. Maybe he never went to the military. I think he suggested me that he never was even in the military. But then on the other hand, there is also a possibility that he was in the military. because there also was one guy who went into the military when I was rosy young, talking about maybe 3 years of age, and served the military, which was completely normal in Italy at the time. I think it was at least 2 years military service. And after the 2 years, he returned back, and then he headed up north for the work. I don't know if this was the guy, but there's a possibility. You see, the way they did the jobs in Italy was, in my case, they did absolutely everything to the Rome. Rome is the capital of Italy, president, Italian parliament. It's right in the middle of the Italy. That's north, that's south. If you exclude the middle, the Rome divides Italy on north and on south. And because south is a disadvantage, poor, less developed, at least when it comes to employment, the companies up in Milano, because Milano is a center, this is the epicenter of all the jobs, companies. Every company that is notable company these days is probably not anymore like this. But back in 1970s, I was born on December 9, 1971. Back in the 70s, there were no such thing like Bologna or Venice or Florence or even Genoa or even Torino. These were nothing. The king of the north was Milano. Every company that was notable company was from Milano, that's it. It took a special financial assistance to promote headquarters, a company's headquarters also in Torino, and then also something came out with Genoa, something little Bologna, miniature when compared to Milano. And so the companies from Milano, which was the net of the companies, all the headquarters, the companies that counted, at least in my case, is the way it was. And it was not in my case, because it was all the ministers, military generals, everything went through this case. I mean, not everything went through this case, but they all interacted with me, give me the ability to have overview about what went on in Italy. What they would do is they would report the potential employment, empty seats, or I should say the employment list, right? The necessary to find workers and stuff like this. They all reported to Rome, to the parliament. Through the parliament, these opportunities came to the president, and president handed this through his people to the regional southern part of Italy governments. Whether that be, I don't know what region, Bari, Barletta, whatever, Potenza, whatever it might be, Cosenza, whatever it might be, Catania, whatever it might be. And for me, this stuff started when I was just 3 years of age. Maybe even 2. 3 for sure. And the way they were doing this stuff is they would have a government guy who would in charge the local state employment agency guy, who would then take me with him on a search for potential work prospects willing to immigrate on the north for the work. That's exactly the way it was. He would sit me inside of the car, sometimes with even a politician that would go to a certain area, whatever, and they would take me with them. I was a child sitting inside of the car with these guys, or maybe even as one guy, whatever, and the way this would be done would be a politician. The politician, whether that be maybe some kind of a state person, high state person, official, he would take, they would have established routes through these cities, like you would go here, let's say, and you have all these little cities, like Lione, Teora, all this, like this, and they would be driving through here. This would be on a regular basis. They would be meeting with the people. It would be like checking these cities, these settlements. They would stop by and so on, and it would be always some kind of opportunity for people, and they would be discussing all kinds of issues that people had going on. They would all the time have these people that they would send to these areas. And so the people that I drove with, they were not from these local towns. They were not from these localities. These were the people that would come from, I don't know, like I told you, from Rome, or they would have from Rome, they would contact maybe somebody in Napoli, whatever, you know, and they would take me inside of the car with them to these villages, and along the way they would find the proper person. They would also start to train state employment agency agents to travel with them and teach them how to recruit workers, potential workers, workforce, using me directly. I don't know, maybe I made a good impression because I was a child. People were curious, and they found a way to talk to these people. This is very bad because it was very high unemployment. So they found a way to bridge this maybe negativity or something like that. And at the same time, this would give me the opportunity to meet people so that I could grow with them practically, remember them, their families, everything through their life. This is the way this stuff was done. Okay? So the companies from Milano, that's what they would do. They would hire, and people would be hired through Italian parliament. President would select through certain people pertaining to my case, and this is how this stuff would develop. So I hope that I give you a good idea about how all this stuff ran through here. So I think, yes, I think that he traveled to Bologna first for the training. From Bologna, I believe he did go to Ferrara and not even to Padova, because Padova is bigger, but I think it was, or maybe it was Padova and then it was Ferrara. It's also possible that, I don't know. I remember him that for a little short time he would have me travel from Padova to Monselice to Montagnana in Casaleone, something like this, in this direction. So it was one or the other, but this guy was not, he did not spend his life in the military as I initially assumed. Not assumed, but yeah, I saw him. The thing is, there was another 100 people just like this guy involved in it, with military that I would, they had right here in the middle here somewhere, not too even far from here, a military base where they would have me, Italians, where I would visit that military base. I had Serbs taking cameras. The Serbs would be they were very motivated in learning everything about the Switzerland, and I think the Russians gave them this order to learn as much as possible about this mountain here, northern parts, military stations that they had. And so they would be dragging me to the most remote, some of which no longer even exist, stations, even academy, military academy, that kind of stuff. And at the same time, they would be taking photos of it, secretly pulling the cameras out and taking photos as they would drive with me towards Switzerland. I know that we would made it all the way to the Switzerland And I know they had a profile, entire Italian military installations all the way to the Switzerland, but not to the Switzerland. But then one day they told them, why not in the Switzerland? This is what Swiss told them. They told them, yeah, you can go, you can enter, and you can go to the Switzerland. Italians didn't give a fuck about Yugoslav military, about the Serbian military, because their military was way, way stronger, supported by American Air Force and everything else. So they did not worry about no fucking Yugoslav, Josip Broz Tito military. They were pulling out cameras, taking photos of all this, and I even criticized Italian side for allowing Serbs to go with me to these military installations, and they told me, don't worry about it, they told me. They were laughing at the Serbs when they were doing this stuff. I told them, what do you mean, don't worry about it? And they told me, that's exactly why we do this stuff. And I said, what do you mean by this? Why do you do this stuff? And they told me, well, we know that they are taking photos of it. The thing is that we are also taking photos of them. And so they had these telescopes with the cameras, with all kinds of stuff, taking photos of us when they had me inside of the car as they traveled, and they were making the photos of whatever they were making the photos. This is at least was a story, official story to me from Italian side during MK Ultra. So every Italian general, all the economy, everything was involved in this MK Ultra case. Italians at one point, they had me involved so much in this stuff in MK Ultra that when British and Americans suggested that I must also get familiarized with them and so on, Italians didn't even like the idea about it because they felt like I was Italian. They had me so much around, these people, these officials from Rome and so on, that for them this was not even acceptable. And it was because of me that I also wanted to see US military and all that kind of stuff, which angered Italian side. They saw this even as I betrayed them, that I left them and so on. They got so used to me that they just wanted me to be here in Italy, somewhere here. They couldn't see it anymore without me in Italy. This is a story about this guy, a little bit about the Italy also. This is exactly the way this stuff was. Yeah, there is nothing else I would say about this stuff. I'm not going to be correcting anything about any of that stuff. Based on the stuff that I say, it first would go to Bologna and then it would go to Padova, and from Bologna and Padova you would end up somewhere in Ferrara or in Legnano. It says Legnano here. This should be Casaleone, right? Legnano. I don't know why it doesn't say over there. Okay. That's a funny thing. The earlier it says Casaleone and then Sirea or whatever. And now it says Legnano. So they change names very quickly. I'm just kidding. Sirea is here. Cecchin. I always thought this is Cecchin. Sanguinetto, okay. Oh, this is definitely the guy. He was so sensitive about the Sanguinetto. is here, as you see, Casaleone. Not here backwards, but this should be somewhere here like this. Quite expensive, but not in the back. Their location in Casaleone would be somewhere here, probably something like that, something like this, somewhere in the middle, I would even say, like this. So that's all I gotta say about him. I think he even told me that he was not in the military, but I think he was in the military. I think he was in the military for maybe 2 years. After the military service, he immediately left for work up north. 2 brothers, 1 sister. I remember the house very clearly. Now, there is nothing else I would say. His wife originates, totally originates from Mantua. There is a family on both sides of this lake, river, whatever that is, that she has. And they had me in also family here in Castel Diario and Nogara. I think he suggested me that originally that she's from Nogara. What it is, I do not know. If or not, I do not know. I think they are from, I think she is from Casaleone. Even from here, as I would say, Magarino, something like this, like the area that I demonstrated you. So, sorry, did I demonstrated this here? Maybe even Magarino, this part here, Margarino. Let me see this, let me see what this looks like. More toward the main road than backwards. More toward the main road than backwards. Shit, I'm not getting into it. If I ever hear from him, I might even go into this stuff and break down all the other issues, but every one of this is not just so easy to do it. So this is a part number 2 pertaining to this issue here. Belluno, Ponce nell'Alpi, Italy, some Napoli, Potenza, Casalone, Korea. That's it. This is a part number 2. I did not know I'm gonna go and do part number 2, but this is a part number 2. So, and I give a little piece of history about pertaining to Italy, how this stuff was done. So, just so you know. Yeah, I was told that I betrayed Italy when I decided that I wanna, with British and with Americans, that I wanna learn about their bases and stuff like this, that I wanna travel there. It was very, they were very emotional about this stuff. And then they told me, and then that's nothing, and so on and so forth. So this is the way it was. That's the way this stuff was. So here's the date and time. It won't be a conspiracy theories that I did this after 10 years or something. Here's the in Rome, local in Rome is, that's your date and time. Let's see what Donald Trump is doing. He's gonna blow somebody else up or something. Let's see what's going on. There you go. Lucky day for Netanyahu, that's it. Ciao. There is one thing that I have not done yet quite, and let me also do this for you here. That's basically played exactly what this pertains to. Alright, this guy involved in it. This. We're talking about this. This is a part number 2. He did exactly what he told me he would do. And talking about the pictures. That's what this is. As you see here, this is where the guy works. That's his workplace. Nah, it would be very easy. Let me just repeat one more time here. Very important stuff for me to repeat. Damn, I'll be damn. I hope I did explain this issue very good. They would send him on a training, most likely to what was Bologna. From Bologna, after completing the training, he would be transferred, I don't know, maybe to Padova or Ferrara, maybe really to Padova, to specialize himself in a store, or through Ferrara, through I have a trainer who run the store, who would take this new hires to evaluate them whether they can function independently or not. Maybe through Ferrara to Padua. Maybe that's the way it was. I don't know. There were 3 of them from down south, 3 of his friends, and they were sent to different locations. They could send you to any location. Mostly they would send people from south, they would send them to north, whatever location there will be. And so I think that from Ferrara he ended in Padua, and if it was from Padua that somehow he ended in Legnano. You cannot see him. This actually is bigger city than Casaleone. Then that's the way it happened. But as far as the military service that I was talking about, how he was Air Force maintenance and that kind of stuff, this was not it. Air Force, infantry, special mountain infantry, all that kind of Navy, everything, Italian Navy, everything was involved in this case. So that was my mistake. This was the man who worked his way up through the sales, through the stores. This is just the way it was. Yeah. That's all I wanted to clarify, so that they would not get some different context, the whole thing.